Hey everybody. So I figured I'd just get on here while my computer is doing updates. So I just got done reading a graphic novel that came out this month by two black female authors. Well, one's an author and the other one is an illustrator. Elizabeth Columba and Oriel Levy. And Queenie, Godmother of Harlem, is a graphic novel about a black woman named Stephanie St. Clair, who comes from the island of Martinique, I want to say. And she immigrates to the United States. And originally, when I read the book description, it was about, shout out to my Spelman sister Zanetta, who sent me this Barnes & Noble gift card for my birthday, and I pre-ordered this. Initially, I didn't want to read it because I just said, do we really need, I have no idea why people are so engrossed with like black gangsters and organized crime. I just kind of roll my eyes. American Gangster with Denzel Washington was enough, and he played the shit out of that part. But like just in general, I don't understand Godfather of Harlem and all that other bullshit. And so I was just like, a graphic novel for young adults. Is this really what we should be pushing? But I was wrong. And I'm glad that's why I pushed myself to read it. And I also like to just keep up with stuff, particularly for young kids and things I can suggest to them that will give them a different perspective. So one of the things that always kind of have annoyed me about crime and this concept of organized crime is because when it's white people, regardless of their ethnicity or nationality, it's organized, right? It's smart. And then when black people commit crimes, it's, I guess, unorganized, sloppy, whatever, right? And that is indicative of how little they think about black intelligence. Well, anyway, back to Stephanie St. Clair. She ends up being a huge boss around Harlem. But she gets her money through gambling and numbers playing and, kills some people, so on and so forth. And I would have said, what's the point of this? If this graphic novel didn't take you not only with the language, through the Harlem Renaissance and how she patronized certain kinds of black poets and artists, and we could say it was blood money, but, it wasn't just solely for the sake of, black capitalism, the kind of bullshit we talk about now. And it talks about her upbringing, having lost both her parents, having been abused after being, a young house servant by both the male of the house sexually and physically by the white woman she worked for on the island. And she essentially has to escape. She had always had like a penchant toward math, like this sort of genius suggests that people would congratulate her for the numbers and that kind of thing. And so she got a job working for this Jewish man in Harlem. And she said, well, look, I have to quit. The man she was with and whose care she comes under, was a pimp. And her white Jewish boss knew that. And he said, look, I'll make you full time. Because she told him she was going to quit. And he was like, you can't quit to work for a pimp. You're too good at this. And this becomes sort of, in a way, like once we get to his funeral, because they do kill him just for his later association with her. And to some degree, he was like a father to her. And typically I'd be like, oh, it's just a white savior. Well, I mean, if it's the truth, it's the truth, right? Like that somebody helped you and saw a skill that you had. But also the way in which they go back with her childhood and they go back to her time in Harlem and explain a lot of the pain and the things she's able to overcome. Because I'm sorry, I have to say, I don't think numbers running is the same as heroin trafficking or crack cocaine. Okay? If Las Vegas and Atlantic City can do it, miss me. But Bumpy Johnson actually worked under her. And she chooses to actually walk away from the game. It just had gotten too much. And so she's able to die an old woman. It talks about her relationships with different people and how she stood up to the Italian mafia. And that's why she became such a figure in Harlem. Because of the way they were exploiting black people. And they were pushing heroin in the 1930s. She does make money, during the time of Prohibition, so on and so forth. And I just think it's a very powerful story because this so-called organized crime of Harlem that people give to Bumpy Johnson or whoever Denzel Washington played in American Gangster, I forget his name. Um, and it all started with this black woman who immigrated and could speak French, learn to speak English, and was so good at numbers. And they were constantly after her. But it was because they wanted to be able to exploit Harlem. And she was friends with Jack Johnson. You know, she eventually took self-defense classes so she could learn how to take care of herself. And after you go through so much, and I think this graphic novel really gives the impression, not the impression, but it helps express how somebody comes to be and also gives credit for the intellectual development that comes from a black woman. And not to mention, they constant references to W.B. Du Bois or County Cullen, Duke Ellington, people that Charles Austin, you know, these prominent painters, writers, artists, activists that, you know, some kids just don't know about because they're kids and also because it's not always taught. So I think that there is a real value to this, and I would encourage you all to pick it up. And this also makes fourth book down in my free Black Women's Library Challenge for 25 books read by Black women or Black non-binary authors this year. I'm pushing. The semester's picking up, so I might have to slow down. But anyway, I encourage you to get it. Everybody have a happy Friday. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.